This is Isuki. He is on the bus to school and notices two kids sitting nearby, playing a pretty popular game recently. He then arrives at the stop, which is Sega Academy. As soon as he enters the gate, he is stopped by a guard because he hasn't shown his ID card. He tries to find it on himself but can't, causing the guard to doubt whether he really is a student of the school. But a girl named Izumi comes to his rescue. She is the student council president and remembers the names of all the students, so she helps talk to the guard to give him more time. He then finds his backpack and goes inside. He meets the girl again and tells her about what just happened at school. Izumi is pursued by many female students. Everyone hopes she will pass the upcoming national exam. Isuki then tells her about his boring summer vacation. He also takes some cake that his sister Chizuru made for her to eat. A friend of hers then comes over and invites him to play games tonight, but he says he's busy, so maybe later. Isuki asks what game it is, and she takes the chance to introduce him to a game called PSO2. If Issei hasn't played it by now, he's kind of behind the times. That night, when he gets back to his room, Isuki accidentally receives a message. He opens it and sees it's from Izumi. She wants him to come to the student council room tomorrow afternoon because there's something to do. The next day, he tells his friend about it, and the friend wonders since when Isuki and Izumi got so close, but they just met yesterday, so he's at a loss too. Then her friend comes over again and wants to ask Isuki to help with something this afternoon. He agrees as long as it's done before 6 p.m. so he can still go to the student council. Izumi and the student council pass by, making everyone look at them admiringly. But Isuki stays calm. The student council then gives a speech to the whole school. Isuki learns that the vice president is currently abroad and not present. But even so, Izumi carries the student council on her own. Her academic and athletic achievements are always excellent and the pride of the school. That afternoon, Izumi helps some friends participate in a ball game. After playing, everyone invites each other to get a drink, and Izumi then realizes it's 6 p.m. and rushes to the student council. Because he's a few minutes late, some members criticize him. But Izumi gets to the main point. She tells him that from now on, he will be the vice student council president, and his first task is this PSO2 game. He later asks her about the game, and she sees that Isuki is starting to get interested. But he says this is only the vice president's job. She wonders why he got in, and Isuki says it's because he's hardworking and often participates in school activities. When Isuki returned to his room, he recalled the meeting this afternoon, and the reason he was chosen directly instead of through an election was because the student council didn't want to cause unnecessary incidents. And partly because Isuki wasn't part of any club, he was basically free to work here. The reason for playing this PSO2 game was that the academy wanted Izumi to investigate the online activities of other students. Since she didn't have much gaming experience, she wanted Isuki to do it instead. Yet people called him someone who always does everything well. He then logged into the game following her instructions. First, he created a character, choosing all random options. And by a strange coincidence, the character looked nothing like him, so he just used his real name to match it. By then, the student council had all left, but Izumi stayed a while longer because she still had work. Back to Isuki, he then chose a weapon for himself, a gunblade that worked for both close combat and ranged attacks. He entered the game and saw quite a few other players. Suddenly, an older guy with a robot skin approached him, wanting to teach him a few things in the game since he was a veteran player. Isuki wasn't interested and turned away, but the guy followed him. Suddenly, an emergency mission alert popped up, so Isuki decided to check it out. The older guy advised him the mission wasn't suitable for a newbie, but Isuki joined anyway. When he got to the mission site, Isuki encountered a monster. It laid a few eggs and started overwhelming Isuki in numbers. The older guy rushed out to help him. He then fired a shot to take out the smaller monsters and told Isuki to handle the big one. Isuki jumped up but wasn't close enough to hit, so the guy told him to switch to gun mode. He shot it down, but had to hit its weak spot to kill it. But the monster managed to get up and charged at him. Just as it hit him, it charged again, so Ecchi fired a bullet straight into its head. He defeated the monster and got praised by the older guy. The guy then gave him a philosophy lesson about the game before leaving. Later, it was revealed Izumi also played this game, and it seemed she was the robot character. The next morning, Ecchi submitted his report to Izumi. She said that whether the school would continue in its current peaceful and happy state depended on Ecchi. In the following days, Ecchi kept doing all the tasks assigned by the student council members well. Whenever asked about something, he said it was already done. When Ecchi left, everyone admitted Izumi had chosen the right person. Reading his report, Izumi felt she had exaggerated a bit, making her impression of the game somewhat too abstract. Later, a new student transferred into Izumi's class. She was Ichika, a foreign exchange student who had recently returned to Japan. She introduced her background briefly, and the teacher seated her next to Izuki. The teacher asked Ecchi to show Ichika around the school when he had free time. As soon as she sat next to Ecchi, he saw some kind of creature on Ichika, but then thought he must have imagined it. During break time, Ichika kept getting asked questions by her classmates. Ecchi went out to use the restroom, and Ichika immediately followed him. She watched Ecchi closely, which caught his attention. But she told Ecchi not to mind her. He went into the restroom and she still followed, forcing him to push her out. He reminded her that males and females don't enter each other's restrooms. Suddenly she came close, and she instinctively swung a punch. He quickly blocked it, and luckily nothing happened. She didn't expect someone to keep up with his speed. That afternoon, Ecchi attended a student council meeting, then submitted his report to Izumi and went home. On his way home, he felt like he was being followed, so he started walking faster. But the feeling persisted, making him turn around to look, and there was no one. Just as he turned his head, Eika was right in front of him. Since she was going the same way, he took her to the dormitory. They went inside early, and Ecchi told her the dorm was divided into two areas, male and female. Males weren't allowed in the female area, but females could enter the male side. True gender equality. Ecchi also introduced her to some shared areas. These were places both sides could visit: dining room, reading room, laundry room, and even the bathhouse. This room was still separated by gender. Males and females could eat together if they wanted. He also told her about the dorm's curfew. Dorm curfew. And if there was a need, you had to notify the dorm manager in advance. More detailed rules were stored on the computer in the room, so she could read them later. He then went back to his room and fell asleep as soon as he lay on the bed. Fell asleep and then dreamed of a scene, and dreamed of Izumi approaching him. He woke up startled to find Ichika sitting on top of him. The incident was discovered afterward, and Ecchi was the only one forced to write a self-criticism report, since Ichika was excused for not knowing the rules well. The girls blamed Ecchi for luring Ichika back to his room. He then went back to his room to play games, and she said she would log in soon too. He met the robot skin older guy he often played with, but by the end of the session he was criticized as a terrible player. So the next day, he told her about it. The guy said Ecchi made the mistake of showing off too much and ended up putting himself in danger. Now he understood why his friend was angry. She then asked his friend's name and was shocked to learn the friend he had been playing with for so long was famous as a solo player. She didn't understand why a veteran solo player would choose to play the game with Ecchi. That was something you couldn't explain either. Ichika later approached Ecchi and said some random things in the game that he didn't quite understand because they were pretty vague. That night, Izumi saw that Ecchi wasn't playing, so she thought she might have been a bit too harsh about yesterday. The next day, he didn't submit. He reported that he overslept last night and didn't play. But Izumi knew he logged into the game, though she couldn't say anything because if she did, it would reveal she was a character in the game. She didn't know what to say to convince or apologize to Ecchi, so she gave up and let him pass that day. That night, she played the game alone again, but because she was lost in old thoughts, she couldn't focus and was at a disadvantage. Ecchi had logged in by then and heard people saying his friend was rushing into a dangerous mission alone. Izumi then got into trouble when a bug found her and she was trapped in a cage. But Ecchi came to help afterward. He no longer recklessly attacked like before, but calmly assessed the situation to dodge the boss's attacks while countering it. He also healed Izumi and let her handle the small monsters and the cage. She quickly finished and then helped Isekai deal with the boss. When they returned, they apologized to each other. When they returned, they apologized to each other. One apologized for reckless fighting, the other for harsh words. Izumi then invited him to watch an idol show in the game. Next morning, Isekai submitted his report as usual. Suddenly, Ichika also came by and asked why Izumi made Isuki play this game. She explained that recent internet development has helped people live and work more online. Social networks also help people connect better with each other, but the Academy worries this will make students neglect their studies, so Izumi tries to prove that stereotype wrong. Ichika agreed, and when she found out Ichika also played this game, Izumi made her Asuki's assistant and submit daily reports together with him. Ichika immediately accepted, without hesitation. A few days later, Izumi and Isekai took on a difficult mission together. Though it was tough, they still completed it. Izumi thought he should learn to communicate now. Izumi thought he should now learn to interact and play with others to find real enjoyment. The next morning, he wrote that very lesson into his report for Ichika to see. She added a few points for him. Then he was sent on errands by other guild members. After finishing, he also had to help his teammate Yutaka catch up on delayed tasks. That afternoon, they finished the work together, and Yutaka felt a bit guilty for making Isuki help, but Isuki didn't mind. Later, Izumi came to get the report and saw that you seemed to have gotten closer to everyone here, but you felt like you were only doing trivial tasks. What Izumi cared about was that you managed to connect with everyone. The next day, Isekai told her about Izumi's teachings in the game. She didn't understand how Izumi could teach that way, but still play solo. Maybe everyone just has their own style of playing. By the way, she mentioned you had recently gotten free from being so busy. When Isekai went back to her room, she logged into the game and met a random young man there, and Isekai didn't expect that this person was actually her. He wondered why she didn't use a normal name, but she said RPGs are made for people to become someone else. She thought it was weird when people used their real names as character names, like Isuki did. She later met some of your friends in the game, including a guy dressed as a mouse, a girl dressed as a cat, a samurai, an archer woman, and two machine-like characters. After listening to her chatter for a bit, they realized you had to compete in karate recently and you won a prize. They also knew about Isekai, since you recently spent a lot of time with Izumi. Everyone was even more surprised that you were friends with her in real life. They then said that recently when they went on missions, there was a troublemaker. She told Isuki that this kind of troublemaker often joins teams just to fill the numbers, and then does weird stuff to mess with others. By the way, she also told Isuki that this group of people is very interesting. You met them in the game, and everyone really tried to roleplay their characters. While here, they would form big teams to go on missions. During missions, everyone showed off their skills. The samurai had a wide area stun move that helped the archer lady shoot a rain of arrows. Isuki also got to see her skilled techniques and really liked it. The next day, you recounted it to Izumi. The next day, you told Izumi about it, and she was glad you liked it. She then asked you to go get some samples from the construction company. At the same time, this brother also asked you to post some flyers on the bulletin boards. Since they were short one person for the mission, someone asked to join to make a full team of 4. After entering the mission, when Isuki's group started fighting, the other guy just lay in the safe zone doing nothing. He said the whole team was a bunch of weaklings and should handle the weak monsters themselves. While fighting, Izumi wanted that guy to heal Isuki since he was new, but he said, if you keep relying on others, you'll always be a newbie. That guy then said some rude things and left. Everyone else already knew this guy was a troublemaker who messes with others. She was pretty annoyed about being messed with, but Isuki didn't blame him because no one knew what he was like in real life. You then chased after him, and asked why he was messing with others. He thought you were asking dumb stuff, but you had already figured out his true identity. You read his name out loud. It was none other than Yutaka. He got startled and logged out. The next morning, when reporting back to Izumi, she was pretty angry because you caused Yutaka to skip school today. You were told to make peace with Yutaka, so he would come back to school. That was an order. She said you made your bed, now you have to lie in it. That evening, you went to see Yutaka and wanted him to open the door, but he refused, so you had to enter the game to find him. He thought the game was the only place he could truly be himself. In real life, he was a useless person who couldn't do anything meaningful and wasn't recognized by anyone, so he was jealous of Izuki. But you thought he shouldn't run away, otherwise he wouldn't belong anywhere. You went inside and started talking to Yutaka to reason with him. He then opened the door for Izuki. You went inside and started reasoning with Ayotaka. He didn't dare show his true self outside because he was afraid of being hated. But Izuki thought he was a good person and just needed to change how he expressed himself and acted. Ayotaka then logged into the game and apologized to everyone. Everyone spared him because of respect for Izuki. After that, to make up for it, Yutaka carried Izuki's whole team through the mission. Next morning, Izumi called Izuki up to the rooftop. She saw that you really made peace with Yutaka and also confessed that she was the robot in the game. But you had already figured it out because she repeated certain phrases, both in real life and in the game, so it wasn't hard for you to notice. You then teased her by repeating those phrases, which made her angry and chase after you to make you stop. A few days later, Izumi called Izuki and asked if she wanted to hang out at an event over the weekend. When he got back to class, Izuki's mind was in the clouds. She invited him to hang out over the weekend, but he said he already had plans. That weekend, an annual event for gamers was held. When they arrived at the event, Izuki was a bit disappointed because it wasn't a date. They were both given cards to write their in-game character names on. Nearby, a famous idol in the game started performing, which Izumi really enjoyed. He noticed she was new and figured she didn't come often because she was busy with work. At this time, she also came over and started to feel a bit bored because Izuki didn't follow her. Suddenly, he noticed Izuki and Izumi nearby. He was so shocked because his best friend had ditched him to run off with a girl. Aika was nearby too, but got asked for a photo, so she ran off. Izumi then introduced Izuki to cosplay culture. Suddenly, Izuki was recognized by a little girl. The girl said, "This is the robot girl character from our last team." The girl then brought both of them to meet everyone. He met the two archers and Samurai Kia. They were a married couple with a child. The robot guy, who looked like Izumi, was actually this gentleman. At this time, she was wandering around aimlessly when two girls invited her to take pictures. But after the photos, he got bored again. Then Ichika in her cosplay gave him a bag of drinks to refresh himself. As soon as he drank it, he felt energized and was about to chase after her to thank her. Izumi was recognized as the lonely gentleman in the game. Although she was very pretty in real life, no one dared to approach her, and she didn't like being talked about like this. Plus, she hadn't hit a single shot in the game, which made her a little annoyed. Izuki came over to pull her away to introduce her to everyone. Everyone was surprised that the lonely gentleman was actually Izumi, so they took the chance to get to know her and invited Izumi to play together whenever she could. Izuki reminded her of the advice to connect with others, so she agreed to play together. Later, the group sat down to chat when Izuki logged into the game and saw her there. He said he was now in trouble, surrounded by many dark walls. Then he suddenly disappeared, making everyone think he was really in trouble, so they decided to go look for him. The group split up to search and agreed to stay in touch through the game. After a while, the little girl said her legs were tired and wanted the gentleman to go ahead, but he wanted to carry her. The girl was shy and firmly refused. The Kia couple started arguing because both were bad with directions, but each wanted the other to follow their own idea. Izumi had to give a little speech to boost their spirits. While at it, the group reflected on what she had said. So the whole group headed to the event storage room because it was the darkest place. The group found her phone and soon after also found him in a nearby bathroom. She was also shocked to learn the truth about Izumi. As for him, after receiving a water bag and chasing after the girl who gave it to him, He accidentally got lost in the storage room. His stomach then started hurting badly, so he went into the bathroom only to realize there was no toilet paper. But everyone turned away afterward and didn't care about him anymore. At the end of the day, the event was over, so everyone went home. Izumi thanked Isuki for accompanying her today. She was about to say something more, but she cut in and wanted to go home together with both of them. He still hadn't found the girl who gave him the water bag, but in return, he got to take photos with many girls in cosplay, which made up for it somewhat. A few days later, Isuki was called by 2 girls to meet in the game. They were interviewing other players about why monsters had been appearing much more recently than usual, but those 2 argued for a while and then ran off, leaving Isuki confused. She told him those were NPCs, not players. So the next day, Isuki submitted a report to Izumi saying he noticed the NPCs in this game seemed like real people. Izumi said the NPCs were programmed with advanced AI, and she didn't accept the report because it sounded like he was falling for 2D girls, so she told him to rewrite it. Everyone then noticed Ichika sticking close to Isuki as if they were dating. The girls who liked to badmouth Isuki took the opportunity to spread more rumors about him. Didn't even understand why Ichika kept clinging to him. During gym class, she came to call Isuki to go with both of them to watch AK play basketball, and she just had to stand under her basket, steal the ball from the opponent, then throw it into the other basket from a very long distance. But both were soon called back by the teacher. During history class, while the teacher was lecturing, Ichika stood up to ask about some questions regarding an old battle. The teacher seemed to find a friend to talk with and got really excited. Afterward, the student council discussed some things because the school festival was coming up, so they needed to borrow equipment from another school instead of buying new stuff. In other words, they were reusing old equipment. Izumi and Isuki were sent together to the other school to borrow the equipment. On the way in the car, Izumi asked about the relationship between Isuki and Ichika, since she was following him onto the car. Ichika had questions about riding this bus. Here, Ichika had questions about riding this bus. It stops at random places. So how does the driver know where to stop for people wanting to get off? The answer is by pressing this button. Izumi then realized Ichika knew quite a bit about the game, so she listened as Ichika talked and explained a bunch of things about the game. Izumi thought maybe they should thank the monsters for bringing them together. But Ichika suddenly got angry at that comment. When they got off the bus, Ichika excused herself to go do something, and the 2 later met someone from the school they were borrowing equipment from and got a list of what could be borrowed. They planned to find a delivery service to bring all that stuff back. Since it was almost time to go home, they decided to look for Ichika. There was a supermarket nearby, so maybe Ichika would be there since she didn't know anyone around here. When they arrived at the supermarket, they looked for Ichika, but didn't see her anywhere. Izumi thought Ichika had been acting strange lately, but Izumi said she had been odd since she first arrived. The 2 later found Ichika at a nearby pet store, and this was one of the rare times he saw Ichika smile. Izumi was touched and ran over. Ichika said she found this place quite similar to the shopping district in the game, and wanted to look at the animals. Izumi suddenly thought Ichika must be pretty lonely coming here alone, away from her parents abroad. She decided she would help Ichika if she needed it. Ichika said she was lacking things, so Izumi took her to pick and buy some outfits. Next, they played claw machines for stuffed animals and went out to eat, the 3 of them. Then they saw a little girl crying and ran over to ask. The girl had lost her balloon. Ichika saw the balloon not far away and jumped pretty high to grab it. But then the girl realized she was lost from her mom. Izumi lied that her mom was playing hide-and-seek with her so she wouldn't cry. Then the 3 of them went to look for her mom. They soon found the mom and helped the girl reunite with her. The little girl ran over to thank them and gave each of them some candy. As they left, Izumi said she didn't like playing hide-and-seek much, because back in the day she and her friends played that game, but she was always the last one left behind, and no one bothered to look for her. She was very sad. But one boy came to find her. On the way home, Isuki said that when he was young, he also had childish wishes like becoming a hero. Ichika left first, and Izumi told her to come to her any time she needed help. Ichika didn't say a word and left first. That night, Izumi changed characters to enter the game. This was the first character she created, and because it looked a lot like her, she felt shy and switched to that robot form so no one would recognize her. But Isuki preferred this form. The two then joined a mission to rescue an NPC. They noticed this time seemed busier than usual. Then suddenly Isuki saw someone else join their mission. That person summoned a bird that, although small, was strong enough to take down monsters. The two joined the fight and soon cleared out all the monsters. The NPC was suddenly blasted away by a monster explosion, so that person rushed to catch them. Isuki immediately recognized it. It was Ichika, and they wanted to send a friend request so they could invite her to play together sometime. But she said she wasn't free to play with them and turned away. A few days later, she invited Izumi to a weekend gaming day until morning. But Izumi said he was busy this weekend, going to a hot spring. She knew he would go with Izumi, but he was going with the whole student council, not with her. Izumi wasn't sure what would happen. She wanted Isuki to at least tell her everything that happened there once they entered the game. The whole student council had already arrived at the hot spring. Every year, the student council comes here supposedly to hold meetings, but also to relax. When arriving at the hot spring, Isuki was surprised because the owners were the samurai siblings. Both of them led Isuki's group inside. The husband wanted to invite Isuki to play games tonight, but the wife didn't allow it, because lately he's been neglecting work to play games. The wife then led the group to a room, and Isuki saw she was quite strict about forbidding her husband from gaming. Trying to act like a senior, Izumi also decided to forbid Isuki from playing games, saying it was because a few days ago she had a meeting with the council. They believed gaming can cause academic decline, but she believed Isuki was balancing study and play very well. However, Isuki's grade report said otherwise. He admitted that lately he had been a bit too addicted to gaming, so he forgot to rearrange his schedule. Now Izumi was going to forbid him from playing games and make him study to recover his grades for the upcoming exam. After discussing and arranging work, Izumi made Isuki finish all these assignments for the whole trip. The others then went out to have fun. One group went to play table tennis. The older brother with glasses went to check on Isuki's homework. He had pretty high grades in class, but was struggling in the game. He had just lost a friend, and Isuki knew who that friend was. He then left, so Isuki wouldn't get distracted. Yutaka also joined the table tennis game and immediately acted proud after scoring a point. Personality was just like in the game. Izumi's friend invited her to soak in the hot spring, but she didn't want to go yet because she still had work to do. Her friend then ran to Izumi's room to hang out. She didn't understand why Izumi cared so much about her, because right now, Izumi was working, writing reports for him so he could focus on his homework. She still didn't like Isuki, so she left soon after. Everyone then enjoyed their time playing here. In the evening, Isuki finished dinner quickly to continue doing homework. He finished all of it early and decided to go out to relax a bit. The husband called him over and told him they would secretly play games tonight. And now he could go to the outdoor bath if he wanted. He then went to soak and saw the gaming console the husband had left ready for him. He entered the game and met her, telling her he just logged in but couldn't do any missions. Suddenly, someone entered the bathtub, so Isuki logged out, and she knew her friend was definitely enjoying himself. The person who entered the bathtub was Ichika. She had finished her business and came here, and for some reason, Isuki overreacted. At that time, Izumi was making food for Isuki. The wife then noticed her husband had gone somewhere. He said he went out to get a can of beer, so the wife warned him not to play games. Later, Izumi went to look for Isuki, but he was already gone. His homework was done. She then logged into the game and saw he was online, so she tried to ask him. He was in the outdoor bath, and Izumi said she would come over soon. She thought she'd soon see Izumi wrapped in a towel coming here, but no such luck. She used a robot character to come over, not the other character. As soon as she found out where Isuki was, she logged out of the game to try to find him. She tried to talk to Ichika, but got nowhere. He then logged back into the game and met Izumi again. He explained he was just encountering her in the game, not actually playing. She asked where he was, then immediately went into the bath in the next room. She allowed Isuki to play a little, but told him not to mess around anymore. The husband sat and played. Ichika was silent beside Isuki. then suddenly stood up and ran away. The husband's scream echoed, so the whole group came to see. He said a monster just jumped out of the screen and a girl chased after it. The wife thought he had been drinking. He was dizzy, but the real issue was he dared to play games without permission. A few days later, everyone returned to school and continued studying. Isuki secretly played games during class, but was caught by Izumi in the game. She also studied and played, but never messed around and ignored lessons. A few days later, Isuki and Izumi had a meeting with the school council. When they returned to the student council room, it was already late. Izumi's friend Konoe was still there. She was about to leave, but saw both still stayed. She also wanted to stay and help, but Izumi said no need. Konoe wanted to ask if Izumi planned to go anywhere this weekend, but Izumi was busy with a meeting with Isuki. She had to reluctantly go home, and when Isuki asked to play together sometime, she sharply refused. Konoe was very bitter about Isuki, because she used to be the one close to Izumi, and now she didn't understand why she felt jealous of Isuki. She then went into the game to vent her anger on the monsters ravaging the area. Suddenly, one monster turned red, and no matter how much she slashed, it was unaffected. Ichika was walking with Isuki's buddy, but suddenly ran off. Konoe was cornered by a red smoke at the time. Ichika then lost the signal of whatever she had been chasing. The next morning, while Isuki and she were talking, Ichika came to remind them to go to a meeting since all club presidents were attending today. Izumi's group wondered why no one had seen Konoe since morning. After Isuki and she arrived, Izumi reluctantly started the meeting. The meeting discussed what to do for the upcoming school festival. Izumi proposed adding more activities, but all club presidents refused because they were already tired from preparations and didn't want more work. So these extra tasks were left as voluntary work for the student council. Unexpectedly, there was so much opposition, but they couldn't do anything else. Ichika heard the news that Konoe really disappeared because she couldn't be found in her room. She asked Izumi why she wanted to add a party after the school festival. Izumi said this was her last year at school, and she wanted to do something meaningful like the seniors before her. Both of them were then called to the teacher's office. The teacher asked if they knew where Konoe was since she had gone missing without explanation. They left and saw Ichika also asking around. They then returned to the dorm and asked the security guard, who said Konoe still hadn't been found, and if it took longer, the police would get involved. Izumi went to Konoe's room and saw the door was unlocked. Inside, Ichika was there. She searched Konoe's room for something despite Izumi's objections. When she saw Konoe's game console, Ichika ran away. Izumi then realized Konoe's plan for herself and became depressed because she hadn't paid enough attention to Konoe until now. Isuki then invited her into the game, hoping Konoe might have logged in and someone could spot her. Izumi and Isuki entered the game together to search, but found no clues. Suddenly, they met the butler and the little girl again. The samurai also came and thanked Isuki's group for trusting their home service last time. They also wondered why Isuki's group lately liked using characters that resembled their real selves, because yesterday, they saw Konoe wearing a school uniform in the game. They asked the samurai for the location and went there. They found a cocoon containing a person in the middle of an open field, surrounded by monsters. Isuki didn't hesitate and jumped straight in to rescue. He had an armor layer, so he charged in, but the armor soon wore off and Isuki was restrained by the monsters. Izumi had to come down to help and told Isuki not to lose his cool. She then wanted to handle the monsters herself so Isuki could rescue the person. As he ran up, monsters spawned again to block his way, but someone had cut down all the monsters and the cocoon, so he realized it was Konoe. He then saw Izumi being caught back there, so he turned back to save her. The one who saved Konoe was Ichika. She came with another girl, and during the process of protecting Konoe, Ichika unfortunately let the monster cut Konoe's hand. Her group then showed up, so Ichika's side left early. She recognized that the person ahead was the girl who gave him a water bottle last time. The next morning, Isuki ran to meet Izumi. The two then met Konoe again. Konoe explained that she had fainted by the roadside yesterday and was taken to the hospital, but Izumi saw her hand was bandaged. surely from the cut last night, so she asked if Kono was really sure she wasn't in the game. Izumi stopped this interrogation. Izumi then went with Konoe. Aika appeared nearby and advised Isuki not to get involved in this. He knew Aika was in the game last night, but she denied playing. That night, Isuki kept working and didn't log into the game. The next morning, during the student council meeting, he proposed helping the clubs to reduce their workload. That way, they could voluntarily help organize the party after the festival. Konoe then left, and Aika followed. Isuki also watched them go, so Izumi knew he was still worried about what happened yesterday. He thought there's no way Konoe coincidentally got injured in exactly that spot. And Aika was definitely hiding something. Izumi wanted him to keep playing detective but not forget that he was being watched. He then started following Aika everywhere, but his obvious tailing was soon noticed by Aika. She asked what he needed, and he started spouting nonsense. 2 student council members saw this and thought he was about to confess to Aika but got rejected by her. He tried to explain, but it was useless. Isuki then went with Izumi to convince the club leaders to follow the plan. He made an effort. Izumi used everyone's affection for her and put on a cute act that made all the club leaders blush and agree to help. At the end of the day, she ran up to question both of them why they hadn't come to his karate club. Isuki thought she would join voluntarily, so he didn't go, so he threatened to switch sides. On top of that, he mentioned Isuki's confession to Aika, which Izumi overheard and turned away. Isuki planned to organize a maid cafe, and the girls in the class invited Aika to join. She agreed. Then when Aika went back to her room, someone called her. That person said the number of missing people was increasing, and Aika should investigate soon. That night, in the game, Isuki asked people about Aika. Izumi joked that he seemed to have a crush on Aika. People from real life entered the game. Then you went to ask the butler and the little girl. Neither of them knew anything about Aika, but especially recently, the butler noticed many people had disappeared completely. Isuki thought maybe they were inside the game, but no one understood what nonsense he was talking about. Isuki wanted to find those people because he was sure he would meet Aika. Izumi got angrier the more she heard. The next day, Izuki followed Ayaka again and skipped the student council meeting. He followed Aika to the mall and got caught by her. She thought his tracking skills were still very poor and told him to just say what he wanted. He wanted to know who she really was, but she refused to answer. Then they both saw a place cordoned off by the police. The little girl from before appeared and told Isuki that this was where the high school students had recently gone missing. Aika then left, so the girl took the chance to drag Isuki out to hang out and emptied his wallet. When he got back, Izumi scolded him. Half of it was jealousy because he was with Aika, the other half was because he skipped class. She didn't know whether she should be jealous or just feel sorry for this guy. That night, Ecchi logged into the game again and asked about Aika. He met the little girl again, and Izumi got even more jealous when she heard the girl say he was dating Aika. He then slipped away, and the butler reported that he had found Aika for him. At this time, Aika was fighting a dragon. Isuki came to her without help, summoned his bird, then combined 2 fireballs and darkness to attack the dragon's head. But it only broke its horn and wasn't seriously injured. Isuki then charged forward, but got hit by the dragon, then charged forward but got hit by it. He suddenly awakened into a new form and swung his sword. He unleashed an Excalibur strike that split the dragon in 2. He then asked Aika what she was, but she just said she was a supervisor and left. He then logged out of the game and tried to go to Aika's room, but the security guard saw and stopped him. The guard then sat down and talked with him like 2 men, but Isuki suddenly heard his classmate say that Aika wasn't in the room. Aika isn't in the room. He left and felt pain in his side. Then the monster from the game suddenly spilled out and attacked Isuki, forcing Aika to come help him. She let Isuki run away, but the monster kept chasing, and somehow the sword from the game appeared in his hand. He also got the full armor, like in the game. Aika noticed that Isuki had awakened. Isuki swung once and took down the monster easily. Ichika only needed one move. Then she told him he was about to be enlightened. She then took him to a spaceship. There, he met Kasura. He said that he and Ichika could be seen as NPCs like he had thought, but that wasn't true. He and Ichika were real people, and PSO2 wasn't a game but a reality in the universe. He was shocked by the scene he saw. Isuki was then sent to train and try out his powers. According to Kasura, when he played the game through the screen, it meant he was turning his own power into a form of fighting strength. Now that he had awakened like this, he could come here directly to fight. Those who hadn't awakened yet would see him as just a game character. Ichika didn't expect Isuki to be this strong after awakening. He felt that he had really gotten stronger. Kasura also said that the monsters needed power from people like him who had awakened to create energy channels for invading Earth. Kana was caught last time, but because she wasn't strong enough, she was only used as the core for a cocoon that birthed monsters. Strong people like Isuki would be offered up to the leader of the monsters, who was a threat to the universe. Isuki then went to fight the monsters with Ichika. Damn awesome. Feeling like a total pro, Isuki got even more fired up and wanted to fight more monsters. The next day, she wondered why Isuki wasn't in his room, even though it was Sunday. He said he was busy working on preparations for the school festival. He then went to class and saw Ichika leave somewhere again. He thought she was going to fight monsters, but no, she was just going to the bathroom. She said there were no monsters today because he had killed too many yesterday, and he didn't need to brag about that power of his at all. At this time, Ichika went to meet Kasura. She thought they were overusing Isuki's power too much, and that it would affect his life. But Kasura said fighting was Isuki's choice, and they needed to respect that decision. Isuki then went to the rooftop and found Izumi practicing there. She was a little shy, so he encouraged her to cheer up. Izumi left. He went into space to fight. Ichika just got back to class and heard Isuki had left, so she had to go look for him again. At this time, he was still handling the monsters alone, but a high-level one appeared. It blocked Isuki's attack and then beat him badly. It then caught his sword, which made him panic. But a guy named Sino came to help him and let his teammate Cho protect him. He dealt with the high-level monster and let his teammate Cho protect Isuki. More monsters came, and Isuki, seeing the one that had just beaten him badly, lost his temper. Sino gently handled it and left. Charging in and looking like an idiot, Sino gently handled it and left. And Ichika thought he shouldn't fight anymore because he was just in the way. The next day, Isuki returned to his normal life, working every day at the student council and taking on every task assigned. He was feeling very gloomy, but even though he showed otherwise, he was actually very gloomy because he really was just a hindrance, like Ichika said. When he got back to class, everyone asked where Ichika was since they always saw them together. Ichika hadn't been back since yesterday. Isuki didn't know either. The girls then started talking about how reliable Ichika was and conveniently asked Isuki to buy some coffee. Kasura wanted to keep using Isuki to lure monsters into a trap, but Ichika thought Isuki had his own life and they had no right to use him. Kasura didn't force him, but if monsters invaded Earth, that life would be destroyed anyway. When Isuki went to buy coffee, he accidentally ran into a monster that had come to Earth. The trauma made him turn and run, hiding in a warehouse. He thought he had escaped, but it suddenly charged in. Aishura had to come protect him because she didn't want to drag him into the fight, but she was then knocked out, forcing Isuki to join the battle. He transformed and pushed the monster back. Ichika had powered him up, so the monster tried to go after her first, but Isuki pushed it out of the warehouse. He faced his fear and then unleashed a full attack to finish it off. Ichika said he shouldn't fight anymore because it wasn't his responsibility, but he didn't want to see Ichika fight alone because of him. So she agreed to let Isuki keep joining the monster fights. Isuki then told her to hurry back to class because their friends needed her measurements for making a maid outfit. He saw Ichika smile again and realized that this job on Earth was just as important as fighting monsters. Soon after, the school festival was about to officially start. This was their final battle to see how well prepared they were. But Isuki had fallen asleep and had to be woken up. Aika apologized for keeping Isuki up last night. Everyone thought the two had been fooling around in bed, so Isuki explained they were preparing for the festival. But calling Aika by her first name made everyone suspicious. After that, Aika and Isuki kept going out together to sneak away for missions. Their classmates asked Izumi if she had seen Isuki and Ayaka recently, since they often went together. She then returned to the student council room and saw them both sitting there. Izumi told Aika to go back to class, so Isuki had to stay with Izumi. She said tomorrow is the festival, so we have to try our best. At this time, Aika was being helped by her classmates to try on clothes. Everyone saw Aika as the center of attention. When she showed off to the boys, they liked her even more. That afternoon, Izumi called Aika up to the rooftop to talk. Izumi thought Aika and Isuki were in a romantic relationship but spoke vaguely. This made Aika confused, and she thought Izumi had discovered that she and Isuki were fighting in space. So things just went on, and Izumi chose to give up so Aika and Isuki could be together. Meanwhile, Aika promised to protect Izumi at all costs. Afterward, Izumi left the student council room. That night, she came to Isuki's room to invite him out, but he was already gone. So she assumed he was asleep. Isuki and Aika fought many monsters together. Kasura was very grateful for Isuki's help and decided to send reinforcements since a second wave of monsters was coming. In this wave, Isuki discovered a new monster had appeared. Izumi at this point didn't understand what was happening with her own feelings. Isuki struggled with the new monster because it moved very fast. Aika also got hit by the monster while helping him. He took advantage of the opportunity Aika created to quickly take down the monster. However, more monsters showed up, but the reinforcements Kasura sent had arrived. She is Mato, and a skilled member of the Mato army. She could handle it herself, so she let both of them rest. The next morning, the first day of the festival, school had started. The older brother with glasses always loses a serious daily look during the festival and becomes overly excited. Everyone said today he would meet a friend from the game in real life. In real life, Isuki. Isuki knows that friend and hopes his brother will be okay after meeting him. Everyone then told Isuki to just go to class and not worry about them. The brother in the club stood outside the gate and started asking every girl passing by about the person he was looking for. The butler and the little girl had also arrived, and of course the two samurai siblings came too. The husband was amused by the maids from Isuki's class, until his wife, standing behind, gave him a jab. The older brother in the student council had also found the person he was looking for, and was quite shy around the two from the construction side. Izumi was also pushed by some girlfriends to go have fun, instead of just guiding them around. She then met Isuki again and helped him take out the trash. Aika noticed another monster and ran off, forcing her to follow. Izumi asked Isuki if he wasn't going on a date with Aika, then what kind of relationship did he have with her? As for the bodyguard wanting to protect him, that must be in the game, because Ayaka often ignores side details in conversations. Feeling like she had a chance to get back, Izumi stuck close to Isuki. After they took out the trash, a monster suddenly appeared. It targeted Isuki, attacking before he could transform. Izumi, wanting to protect Isuki, also awakened and shot at the monster. It turned to attack her, and Aika arrived at that moment. Isuki transformed to join the fight, but Izumi was caught by the monster. The smaller monsters harassed Isuki and Aika, while the big one took Izumi away. Isuki tried to save her, but was too late. Isuki tried to save her, but was too late. She witnessed everything, but only thought they were cosplaying and asked where Izumi had gone. Knowing his friend couldn't explain, Aika and Isuki left first. They then went to the monster planet. Kasura heard the news and would try to send reinforcements, so they focused on their main goal. They searched everywhere for clues and were guided to the red gas pillar. When they checked, they saw a machine and a cocoon up there. Izumi then crawled out of the cocoon, but had been corrupted and attacked Izuki. He was knocked out, and Sino arrived to help them. He wanted Aika to take Isuki back while he stayed behind to deal with Izumi. Later, waking up at the base, they learned Izumi was mind-controlled by the monsters, making her hard to save. But if they don't act soon, Izumi's mind will completely merge with the monsters. Isuki wanted to save Izumi, but Ichika advised him to return to Earth. He then returned and was called up to the student council room. Everyone asked where Izumi was. He thought Izumi was in serious trouble and couldn't come back, so he wanted them to keep the school festival going without stopping. He then gained their trust and promised to bring Izumi back as soon as possible. On his way out, he met her, and when she asked, Isuki honestly told her everything. After hearing the story, she offered to help Isuki, but he refused because it was too dangerous. She worried that Isuki was carrying the burden alone, but he said he had AK's support and told her to just focus on the class cafe. The next morning, she went to class and saw everyone worrying about Ichika. He thought Ichika must have her own reasons, so they kept the cafe open. Isuki logged into the game and learned that Izumi was currently sealed under the base, but it was only a temporary measure. Their worst case now was having to eliminate both Izumi and the monster boss. Isuki couldn't accept that, but would he dare sacrifice the whole world just to save Izumi? Kasura could only regret that there was nothing more they could do now. Isuki then turned away while Kasura gave Ichika something. She was gossiping about Isuki to Yutaka, and because of that, Konoe also overheard it. He was skeptical about this matter, but because of what had happened to her before, she also wanted her to tell the truth. At this time, my mother asked Ichika if she had any plans yet, and she only knew to do her best to save Izumi before she was completely corrupted. Kasura had already called Ichika's older sister earlier and asked for a favor. This older sister was also a famous idol in the game. Isuki and Ichika were on their way when they ran into her. He came here through the game to help Isuki and also called their friends over. Everyone gathered here to help Izuki, and Izuki decided to beat her up for gossiping. On the way back, the group then entered the monster den, and everyone used their skills to clear the way for Izuki of the monsters and AI. He rushed straight forward to the spot where a dragon was waiting. Here, it was stronger than the last time, and it immediately shot 2 dark orbs at Isuki. He managed to pass through and slash it, but was knocked back by it. But Konoe also came to help him to bring their guild leader back. Ichika then ran over and sent out the bird to assist. Konoe fought. The two coordinated and hit the dragon, but it immediately knocked them away again. The others also arrived to help Isuki. Everyone charged at once to buy time for Isuki to charge up his skill. As soon as there was an opening, he rushed forward and finished off the dragon with 1 strike. Suddenly, the ground shook, separating Isuki and Ichika from the others. Everyone told the two to go ahead and try to bring Izumi back, but when they arrived, the boss had fully transformed into his complete form. Izumi was not completely gone yet. However, now the two had to hurry, because the robot army from the base had arrived, meaning the base had started a full-scale attack. If they didn't save Izumi, the robots would take care of both the boss and Izumi. But the boss only had to shoot a few beams to wipe out the entire robot squad. Asura remained unshaken and proceeded to Phase 2. The base then used a heavy cannon and fired a burst of energy beams. The boss fired back, but cleverly shot a few smaller beams at the cannon. The cannon was misdirected and was destroyed by the boss's beam, but it also managed to hit the boss, causing him to fall. Isuki ran up but was targeted by the boss's beam, so Ichika had to push him out of the way. She reminded him that saving Izumi was important, but keeping himself alive was even more important. He couldn't be reckless and waste the effort his friends had put in for him. The festival was still going on at this time. Konoe and Yutaka had also returned here to continue managing the festival. She was wearing a maid outfit now to take Aika's place, and the girls naturally kicked him out of the shop before he could scare away all the customers. Kasura was getting the main army ready for battle, and wanted Ichika to prepare to act, but she didn't follow orders and charged ahead to open the way for Isuki herself. He used his shield to run straight forward, and Ichika opened a gate for him to enter inside the boss's body. Ichika then had to deal with the monsters outside on her own, while Isuki needed to find Izumi by sensing where she was. At that time, I also arrived to support Ichika, while Isuki wandered around inside. Ichika warned him not to let the darkness swallow him whole. He then found Izumi. She reached out and grabbed him, then transformed her hand into tentacles that bound Izuki. He was about to have his mind taken by those things. He was about to lose his mind to them, but Izumi helped him regain his will to keep fighting. Suddenly, he saw images from when they played hide-and-seek long ago. He remembered that Izumi hated playing hide-and-seek. He knew where she was hiding, so he went straight to find her. Anyway, he knew where she was hiding, so he just moved forward to find her. He was the one who found her back then, and also the one who found her now. He tried calling her to wake up. She heard a little of Isuki's voice and came back to consciousness. Isuki then cut off the tentacles to save Izumi. After bringing her down, she transformed and teamed up with Isuki to shoot a hole in the boss's body and escape. However, it wasn't completely destroyed yet, so Isuki, Izumi, and Ichika joined forces and grabbed Isuki's sword. The power of all three created an Excalibur strike that reached the sky and hit the boss's head. Its form was destroyed, but it wasn't dead and would revive once more. Ichika thought it was time to say goodbye since her mission was over, so she couldn't go with the other two anymore. Isuki and Izumi were then sent back to Earth. Ichika saw the remnants of the worm still there, and threw out a space gate to suck them away. Isuki later received messages checking on him from everyone. He and Izumi then decided to enjoy the rest of the school festival together. After a day of fun, the final party had arrived. Izumi stood on stage and thanked everyone for helping make the school festival a success. Everyone happily enjoyed the rest of the party. Afterward, Isuki and Izumi wondered if they would ever see Ichika again. Things then went back to normal. Except that Isuki's group lost the ability to go back inside after that incident. Not long after, Izumi graduated and left school. She then handed over the student council president position to Isuki, and although he wasn't sure if he could handle it, she told him to call her any time he needed help. Isuki planned to use this chance to confess to Izumi, but Ichika returned here. She said she had a new mission, and from now on they could continue to meet. And the movie ends here.